to write
Sure.
for many years. But this is my 30th year in show business, and it was suggested at that time by people close to me, why don't you just write that down or at least put it on?
They didn't kill her with weapons, they killed her with fake smiles, empty promises, and embraces, each followed by the most devastating betrayals of her career. She is Diana Ross, the immortal Queen of Motown. But at 81, she no longer seeks admiration, she wants the truth to be heard. Because there are those, people she once trusted completely, who made her pay the ultimate price, both in her career and in her life. And today, she's ready to name them. Every scar, every betrayal once thought unimaginable, there were secrets that nearly buried her entire legacy, and now, for the first time, they are being revealed. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. This story didn't begin with betrayal, it began with a dream named Diana Ross.
A very wonderful song. When my mother passed away, one of my singers sang it at her.
Born on March 26, 1944, in Detroit, Michigan, Diana Ernestine O. Ross was not just a voice, she was an era. A woman who transformed the Motown dream into a cultural revolution, she helped black music cross racial boundaries and left an indelible mark on stages across America. Diana Ross began her singing career with the Supremes, under the guidance of Motown mogul Berry Gordy. The Supremes were not only the most successful female group of the 1960s, but also the first black-led group to compete on equal footing with the Beatles, Elvis, and the Rolling Stones. With a string of hits like Stop, In the Name of Love, You Can't Hurry Love, and Baby Love, they opened doors that had long been closed to black women. In 1970, Diana Ross left the group and launched a solo career in what critics called a spectacular transformation. Her very first single, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, topped the Billboard charts and became an anthem for a generation that loved freely and fearlessly. Throughout the 70s and 80s, she released a series of timeless hits, Touch Me in the Morning, Love Hangover, I'm Coming Out, Upside Down, and most notably, the duet Endless Love with Lionel Richie, one of the best-selling love songs of all time. Diana Ross didn't stop at music. She broke new ground in film as well. In 1972, she portrayed Billie Holiday in Lady Sings the Blues, earning an Oscar nomination for Best Actress, something almost unheard of for a black singer at the time. She continued to shine in Mahogany and The Wiz, alongside Michael Jackson, proving herself a rare and multi-talented artist. Over 6 decades of dedication, Diana Ross earned numerous prestigious accolades: the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, the Presidential Medal of Freedom awarded by Barack Obama, the Kennedy Center Honors, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, over 100 million records sold worldwide, and recognition from Billboard as the top female artist of the 20th century. But her greatest legacy isn't found on the stage, it's in how she became a symbol of pride, independence, and the unyielding spirit of black women in a world full of prejudice. She didn't just inspire a generation, she inspired generations to come, including Beyoncé, Janet Jackson, Whitney Houston, and Mariah Carey, all of whom have called Diana Ross their icon. And yet, behind the spotlight, behind the dazzling gowns and thunderous applause, was a journey filled with loneliness, pain, and scars never before revealed. Because no one reaches the top without paying a price. And for Diana, the price was sometimes the very people who once stood beside her. We've listened to her sing for decades. But now, it's time to listen to her speak about the truths she's kept hidden all her life. And you will be the first to hear them. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't an outsider. The first name she whispered in pain was the one who helped build her spotlight. If there had been no Berry Gordy, there would have been no Diana Ross as we know her. He was the one who saw in the young girl a star quality the world had yet to recognize. He gave her songs, stages, lights, and then, he gave her his heart. Their relationship went far beyond art. It was love. It was dependence. It was the kind of affection that lifted her up, while suffocating her a little more each day. They loved each other in secret, under the weight of contracts and constant gossip. In 1971, when Diana became pregnant with her first child, she believed Gordy would step into the light and stand by her. But he chose silence. He chose to let her marry another man, Robert Ellis Silberstein, just to protect Motown's clean image. And Diana, the woman who once dared to sing Ain't No Mountain High Enough, was forced to hide the truth about her own child. Rhonda, her firstborn daughter, grew up calling Barry Uncle BB, and didn't learn the truth about her father until she was 13. Meanwhile, Diana, the woman who had been the centerpiece of an entire music empire, had no say in publicly revealing the father of her own child. She once said, "I don't hate Barry. But he taught me my first lesson: never let fame be bigger than the truth." Barry made Diana a legend, but he was also the first to show her that some prices in life can't be paid with contracts or stage lights. He created Diana Ross, but he was also the first to make her lose herself. And the next name hurt even more than a love left behind. Not everyone who wounds us is a stranger. Sometimes, the deepest cuts come from someone who once called us sister. Florence Ballard, co-founder of the Supremes, was once the heart and soul of the group. A powerful voice, a radiant smile, and unwavering trust in Diana. They once shared beds, meals, and held hands backstage, innocently waiting for a shot at stardom. But when that chance finally came, it wasn't shared equally. As Motown began to turn the spotlight on Diana, Florence was gradually pushed into the background. No more solos. No more center stage. Just a background figure, clapping for someone else. A feeling began to rise within her, one silently endured by generations of black women, the feeling of being replaced. Swallowed by the entertainment machine. And overlooked by the person she was closest to. Florence didn't scream. She drank. She skipped studio sessions. She grew cold on stage. And in the end, she was fired from the very group she had helped create. Diana never publicly spoke ill of Florence. But she also didn't speak up when Florence fell into depression, unemployment, and lost everything. In 1976, Florence Ballard died in poverty. No major headline covered that truth. No one spoke of her as a vital part of the Supremes. No one, except Diana. In a special performance, when asked about the past, Diana simply said, "There are friends who once climbed with you. But somewhere along the way, they stop, not because they're too weak, but because their hearts broke before yours." Florence never hurt her. But the silence between them was what left Diana with a lifetime of guilt. Because no one can wound you like someone who once called you sister. That scar had barely healed before another cut appeared, this time from the very place she once called her light, her second home, her everything, Motown. To Diana Ross, Motown was once a home, the place where a young black girl from Detroit reached for the American dream. It was where she first sang, first heard applause, and truly believed she was loved. Motown called her the Muse, their shining star. They offered her fame, spotlight, power, but beneath it all were silent shackles. Every contract was a trap. Every dress, every word, carefully chosen for her. And whenever she tried to speak up, they whispered, "Silence looks better on you." When Diana became pregnant with her first child, there were no congratulations. Only a command, keep it quiet. Because Diana Ross wasn't allowed to be a mother, to be fragile, or emotionally attached. They didn't want a woman, they wanted a flawless symbol. She once loved Motown like a woman loves a man, but in time, she saw the truth, it was a one-sided love. They didn't love who she was, only the shadow she cast on stage. And whenever she tried to leave, they reminded her, "We made you." But they forgot, it was Diana who gave Motown its soul, who made the world remember its name. Have you ever loved a place so much you called it home, only to realize you were just a display piece in your own house? Diana did. And when she walked away from Motown, she wasn't just leaving a record label, she was walking away from the biggest shadow of her life. If you want to know who comes next, stay tuned. If Florence Ballard was a silent wound, then Mary Wilson was the storm Diana couldn't outrun. Mary, Diana's companion for nearly a decade under the name The Supremes, wasn't just a colleague. She was the one who had witnessed every stumble, every step, every smile that hid Diana's exhaustion backstage. But that friendship eventually turned into a battle, told through memoirs, interviews, and public revelations. Mary believed Diana was selfish. That she had destroyed the sisterhood within the group. That everything the Supremes achieved was never just Diana's doing. And she voiced it, in an autobiography released just as Diana was preparing to reunite with the group. Like a slap to the past, right when there was a glimpse of reconciliation. Diana Ross didn't fight back. She chose silence. But in a 2000 performance, when the Supremes stood together again after years apart, the light in Diana's eyes was gone. Replaced by weariness. Tension. As if she were singing beside strangers, not the sisters from long ago. The reunion quickly fell apart due to disagreements. Not just over money, but because of the emotional fractures that could no longer stay hidden under the lights. Mary didn't betray Diana with actions, but with words. By recalling old memories in a tone that made Diana, who had always tried to uphold the image of unity, appear calculating in the public eye. And sometimes, betrayal doesn't need a knife. Just a few written lines are enough to turn a once brilliant past into ashes. With someone you once called a friend, silence can hurt the most. But when they finally speak, you risk losing the past altogether. And Diana wasn't done yet. No one expected this name to come up. No one wanted to believe that Diana Ross, the woman Michael Jackson once called his second mother, had once shed tears because of the very boy she helped lift when he first entered Motown. But wounds don't always come from enemies. Sometimes, they come from the moment someone looks away when you need them most. Diana protected Michael like her own child. She brought him to major parties, introduced him to the media, and stood backstage when the Jackson 5 stumbled on their path to fame. For years, her name was spoken alongside his, a symbol of intergenerational affection. But when Michael reached his peak, when the spotlight finally shone on the brown-skinned boy who had once been overlooked, Diana began to fade from his narrative. No mention. No tribute. Not even a public embrace like before. In interviews, Michael spoke of Quincy Jones, of Elizabeth Taylor, but the name Diana, the woman who had lifted his dreams from ashes, seemed forgotten. Rumors said there were misunderstandings between them. Conflicts over shared projects. Hurtful words never addressed. But the truth only Diana knew was that when someone who once called you family chooses silence through your hardest years, that coldness cuts deeper than betrayal. And the most painful part, when Michael Jackson died, a part of her heart froze with him. Because she would never get to ask, "Why did you forget me?" Why, when the world turned on you, I was there, but when I fell, you disappeared? Michael didn't hurt her. But his silence was the final cut, carved into the heart of a woman who once chose to believe in a love not bound by blood. 5 names, 5 heartbreaks. And yet Diana Ross still stands, a living testament to one truth: some legends aren't built on victories, but on betrayals survived and forgiven. Diana Ross doesn't need sympathy. She never shared these stories seeking forgiveness. All she ever wanted was to be heard, just once, the same way she once listened to the pain of an entire generation. Because behind the spotlight, behind the timeless hits and the glamorous gowns, is a woman who loved, who sacrificed, who was betrayed, and still chose to rise. She doesn't need revenge. She doesn't need to expose anyone. She only needs to speak their names, each person, each wound, so the audience can understand. No legend ever emerged from Hollywood without carrying scars. And it is those very scars that testify to strength and endurance. And if you, like us, still believe that truth deserves to be told, that memories deserve to be honored, then share this story. Let a new generation know, the most powerful kind of spotlight is the one that shines on those who rise from the very place they once fell. You've heard Diana Ross sing. Today, you've heard her speak. And if her words moved you, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. Your feedback helps us keep improving.